China is determined to become the world's next superpower. In order to achieve this, they have already made their plans. The president of China, Xi Jinping, announced in a public speech that by 2050, China will rule the whole world. If China succeeds, all of our lives will change, and some of us will probably witness it. America's influence will diminish, and for the first time in history, the People's Republic of China will become a world power. We do not need to calculate how our lives will change, because China has explained what will happen if they become a world power. Those who will have China become a world power. 1. Africa will have greater power. China's plans will not only change itself, the balance of the whole world will change. Africa will experience the biggest change. Even if everyone is not aware of it, China, the country that makes the biggest investment in Africa, has spent billions of dollars on the continent so far, and they are planning to spend more. Africa has already begun to see itself as China's closest trading partner. And what's more, China has started working to get more African countries from the United Nations. If China rises, Africa will rise with it. 2. The United States will be drawn into a crisis. If China becomes a world power, America will fall into a secondary position, and this will drag the country into a major economic crisis. America has so much power right now because its currency is used in almost all international trade. This helps keep America's economy stable. However, China is determined to change this comfortable situation in America, and they aim to use their own currency, the Chinese yuan, as a common currency in international trade, instead of the American dollar. This situation will cause America's currency to lose value, and they will enter into a major economic crisis. Flying the world police force will end. Despite the paranoia of many, China will not use its new power to take over the world and force people to become communists. According to the agreement China made with Africa, it will not interfere with Africa. America had a feature of interfering with the weak, but China will leave these countries alone in making decisions. 4. University professors will have to teach state-approved courses. China may not exert power over less developed countries, but that doesn't mean it won't try to influence them. They will do this in a way they call soft power. They did some of this through schools. China has already attracted many students into their universities. It hosts more African students in its schools than America and England. The students they choose are especially young people who aim to become politicians. What he is starting to do in schools now is to teach Chinese-based lessons and inform teachers accordingly. If they become a world power in the future, not only universities in China, but also many universities around the world will be taught Chinese-based courses. 5. History will be rewritten. The Chinese Communist Party has made it clear that they have a goal of rewriting history. President Xi Jinping said in a speech that he will improve international communication and that this will put China in a better place in the eyes of other countries. 6. Europe will fall. It seems that it will lose its former power after years when Europe became the leader of the world. While European countries have lost their power since 2000, Asian countries have been getting stronger. Meanwhile, China cooperates with countries such as Asia and Africa. This shows that world power will shift to the Eastern Hemisphere. 7. Popular films will all be state-approved propaganda. If you want to watch a movie on an evening when China is a world power, you will feel as if you went to watch China's propaganda. China is quite adamant about its goals. They want all the movies in theaters to glorify their party. And they want to make sure that China is portrayed as a civilized and developed country with a rich history. The Chinese government has already started to produce their own films and realize this plan, and recently they have hired Matt Damon for the lead role in their movie The Great Wall. 8. Japan will stop the understanding of international society. Sheila A. Smith of the Foreign Relations Board says the following about this situation: no country can feel China's rise more than Japan. When China rises, there are two options for Japan: either to go after China or to cancel their deal. China still has not forgiven Japan for its atrocities in World War II, and Japan has not fully apologized. China still uses this situation in its own propaganda, and we are sure that Chinese citizens will never forget that they are also enemies of Japan. If China has enough power, it won't need to threaten Japan. It will cut it off. 9. Taiwan will be invaded. Although China is a world power, Taiwan does not seem to have a chance to remain independent. They're pretty clear they want to see Taiwan under their control again. If Taiwan does not accept it spontaneously, the Chinese government is willing to take it, even if by force, by finding an excuse. 10. China and the United States could go to war. Of course, it would be better if China rose peacefully, but it could not rise without a violent conflict with almost any country. Therefore, it is quite possible that a war will break out between China and America. China is preparing itself for this situation. One of Xi Jinping's goals for 2050 is to build a first-class army, as he says. To build an army that can fight and win the United States. A possible conflict between the two countries will either be a new Cold War or a bloody struggle that will last until one of them is completely eliminated. Of course, our wish is that you look at yourself with the hope of a peaceful world without war.